Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got a fantastic win for Legend of the Five Rings, which is a game I didn't know much about, so I've had absolute joy looking through it. Now this is going to be a review of the PDF, so we'll be going over to the computer desktop in a wee second to have a look through that. And as usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But this week it's going to be mainly channel related stuff because there's been something going on and I want to talk about it. Now, because of this week more than ever I am grateful for my Patreons, so I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart for all their efforts. It's very much appreciated. But if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, and I really wish you would, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to gain access to one of the other levels of patronage we've got, then there's a Patreon in the description down below. If you check it out, it'd be massively appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at Legend of the Five Rings. So, this is Legend of the Five Rings, which came out from Five Rings Publishing in 1997. And this is the first occurrence that I've seen of a role-playing game coming out based on a collectible card game. Because if we go back to the 90s, this was when collectible card games were becoming absolutely massive. Magic the Gathering had taken Wizard of the Coast from a very small company where people played role-playing games and brought out this card game to, by the end of the decade, being the people who could afford to buy out TSR when it went bankrupt. And all the role-playing companies kind of wanted in on that, because game stores were turning over more and more space in their stores to collectible card games because they were what was selling so well. Games companies wanted some of that action. So we had White Wolf bringing out the Jihad and Rage collectible card games based on Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse. There was a Mutant Chronicles one, I remember that as well. But so many games companies were bringing out CCGs. Even Decipher, I think, had the Star Trek license at the time, and were bringing out a role-playing game, and they brought out a collectible card game as well on the same license. But everybody wanted part of that action. But Legend of the Five Rings was a collectible card game first, and then came out as a role-playing game. And it is based on Japanese culture, a Japanese version of fantasy. So like Dungeons and Dragons and so many other role-playing games are based on a Western version of fantasy, with the dragons and giants and all that. Legend of the Five Rings is based on Japanese culture. So we've got samurai, we've got Japanese spellcasters. No, I'm not even going to attempt to remember how to pronounce the name. But we've got the fantastical creatures as well, so water demons, goblins, things which are part of Japanese culture, which they rolled into this fantastical world. They call Rokugan. I hope I'm pronouncing that anywhere near right. So, let's have a look at the back cover first. Heroic Samurai, spellcasting shugenja, treacherous ninja, the terrible wastes of the Shadowlands, welcome to the Emerald Empire. In development for over 2 years, Legend of the Five Rings role-playing game has arrived. Within these pages you'll find everything you need to create your own adventures within the world of the popular Legend of the Five Rings collectible card game. Easy to get started, a complete beginning adventure Ceremony of the Samurai teaches new players and games masters how to use the rules. Lets players interact with Rokugan's culture and society, step-by-step character generation, pick a clan, pick a profession, spend a few points and you're on your way to adventuring in the Emerald Empire. The Legend of the Five Rings RPG uses a simple system with a unique bidding mechanic, which giving players and games masters control over the mechanics of the game. Advice for novice and experienced games masters. If you've never run a role-playing game before, we'll provide tons of hints, advice, and downright dirty tricks to make your first time easy and fun. If you're an old-school gamer, you'll find lots of advice on how to teach your players how to act and interact within Rokugan. And this one says Aldrak Entertainment Group. Although, if we go inside, we can see that it's copyright Five Rings Publishing Group. So, Aldrak, I guess, were printing it on license. Inside, the artwork's quite nice, and we've got a credits page here, which I'd like to bring attention to, because the game is written by John Wick. And that's where we'll leave that one. Otherwise, we've got a couple of other names we recognise here. Ryan Dancy, who we've seen doing a couple of role-playing games in the past, and Greg Stoltz. Well, Greg Stoltz has done a number of games we've covered on the channel. We covered the Usagi Yojimbo role-playing game that he put together, and Unknown Armies he was involved in as well. And I'd like to also note he's also been involved in Godlike, which is a game that's been suggested to me to put into the polls, and I must put it in, so I'm quite keen on having a look at that now. Now, the Usagi Yojimbo role-playing game I think is interesting, because at the back of this book, Usagi Yojimbo is put down as one of the reading sources. If you want to read up on Japanese culture and that, read the Usagi Yojimbo comics, which are about anthropomorphic animals, samurai and all that, but they really do play into the legends and culture of Japan very, very well, even though it's a cartoon rabbit. Carrying on through, table of contents. As I said, the artwork's very nice. And we're on to the introduction. What's a role-playing game? Games Master, the rules, all that kind of thing. The language of Rokugan. So we're getting into the Japanese names, how to pronounce them, talking about different pronunciations for vowels and consonants, and a glossary of Rokugan words and phrases. Often, these are mainly Japanese ones, so we've got things like sake in there, samurai, and seppuku. We go on to Chapter 1, Earth. Because the 5 rings are rings of nature, so we've got Earth, Water, Air, Fire, and Void, I think, is the 5th one. We'll see as we get through the book. And we start off with a story, The Path of Blood. Now, this is really interesting in comparison to the way other role-playing games have put a story in, because The Path of Blood is a continuing story through the book. So you read up on a section, then we get some rules, and then we come back to it further on, rather than having lots of 1 or 2 page short stories like Shadowrun did, like we saw Cthulhu Tech having as well. This is one longer story, but spread across the entirety of the book. So a few pages of that. Gaijin's Guide to Rokugan, Beginning of the World, The Sun and the Moon, talking about all the history of the world. The New Way, 1,000 Years of Peace. So we're getting the entire history for the culture, for the history of this society. Samurai, those who make war. Heimin, half people. Non-people. We've got to talk about women in culture as wives and geisha. A samurai's life, talking through, their birth and youth, coming of age, their marriage, the coming of old age. We've got things about a farmer's life, the economy, how they travel around, different food that they eat, different types of dwellings, right up to castles. We've got the Bushido, the code of the warrior. Etiquette, politics, really filling this on this world completely. And then we're going on to the rules, quick and dirty rules. Now obviously I'll do a rules breakdown of this at some point in the future. We've got game terms there, and then we're on to Chapter 2, Water, and we're back to Path of Blood Part 2. So continuing with these characters. And we've got character concept, which is the game of 20 questions. So, what clan does your character belong to? How would you describe your character? Is your character a samurai or a shugenja? What about your character's family? What is your character's main motivation? So we've got 20 questions to help you flesh out what exactly your character's all about. I'd like to mention clans. We'll come on to that in a second as we go through the clans themselves and fleshed out a bit more. But clans are one of the more interestingly handled things in Legend of the Five Rings. Clans in things like Vampire the Masquerade, where we've got clans, tend to be people who are clustered about a type of behaviour. So we've got the leadership clan, we've got the sneaky clan, we've got the assassin clan, we've got the artistic clan and all that. In Legend of the Five Rings, no. These are clans based around sort of survival. They control an area, they have their fortresses and all that. But the clans are built up of a variety of different people. There are samurai, there are farmers, there are artists, there are builders, and there are leaders. Every clan has all of those. in a very realistic fashion, as they did in Japan of that era. They were the government, rather than just being a group of people with similar interests, as most role-playing games seem to treat them. So we carry on through the 20 questions. We've got character types, suggesting them, the character sheet, as the stats are separated out by the 5 rings. So, in your earth ring, you've got your stamina and willpower. In your water ring, you've got strength and perception. In your fire ring, you've got agility and intelligence. In your air ring, you've got reflexes and awareness. And void is sort of separate to those. We've got skills, section 3, clan, family and schools. We've got advantages and disadvantages. A few pages of those. Glory. Standard equipment. The character sheet itself, and as you can see, you've got the 5 rings on the character sheet with the attributes attached to it, associated with it. We've got wounds, which are very much like the Star Wars or World of Darkness games, rather than hit points. We've got a series of boxes which, as you're affected, that lead to larger and larger disadvantages. We've got a sample of generic equipment. We've got the list of skills, beauty skills, low skills. We've got the list of advantages and disadvantages, sort of standard things, obligations, permanent wounds, true love. And then we've got information about the clans. So we've got the Crab Clan, the Crane Clan, the Dragon Clan, the Lion Clan, the Phoenix Clan, the Scorpion Clan, and the Unicorn Clan. I believe that's the last, yep. And then we've got Ronin, who belong to no clan. They are basically clanless warriors. Big list of the skills and advantages and disadvantages. Path of Blood Part 3. Then we've got information about how to use the system in more detail. You know, how to roll the dice and what that actually means. We've got simple rules, contested rolls, with people are working together. Tests of honour. We've got combat section here. An example of a skirmish. Combat with battles, so if you're going for something larger. Duels and heroic opportunities. Glory awards and losses, so you've got your amount of glory that your character's got. An example of different types of swords. Polearms, bows, peasant weapons, including a standard bow staff, nunchako, sai, etc. Tonfa there. I remember my brother was into martial arts for a while, and we had a few of those around the house. A visit to the Clabcran Armory with a large image, and it broken down in the page before, telling us what everything is. Chapter 4, Air. Again, starting off with Path of Blood, Part 4 this time. And this is about magic and religion. So, talking about how it works, the roles of the characters within that. Shintao, the Holy Order of Shinzen. So we've got black magic in there, enchanted items, what magic can do and what magic can't do. How to cast a spell. And then we're going to be going on to the spells themselves. So we've got Sense, we've got Summon, we've got Earth spells here. Water spells. Loads and loads of spells, taking up a big chunk of the rulebook, as they always do. And Chapter 5, Void, which again continues with the Path of Blood, Part 5, but then this is your Games Master section. So how to build a campaign, what your theme's going to be, what the characters' roles are going to be within your campaign, what the plots are going to be, how to be a referee, how to do things quick and dirty, that you've got the final word, how to tell a story. Lots and lots of great stuff, you know, keeping up your narrative, putting it all together. That when your players are a beginner, you're going to be a beginner too. So you're going to be learning together. And we've got advanced techniques, so prologues and epilogues. and parallel plot lines, flashbacks running through things, environment. So lots of stuff to help you build up your stories. Live action roleplay. And then we've got people who are important through the world, so the leaders of the different clans. The Crab Clan characters, Crane Clan, Dragon Clan, Lion Clan, Phoenix Clan, Scorpion Clan, Unicorn Clan, and then we've got some other characters. We've got some enchanted items, so famous ones, ancestral swords, other items. Quite a small section on that. A section on how the calendar works. We're going on to ninja, warning to game masters and warning to players about them. Background of them, so where they came from, how they train ninja characters, the different schools. And then we're on to the monsters section, so we've got Bakemono, the goblins, Yurei, which are ghosts. We've got shapeshifters, including Kitsune, Kumo, Ratlings. We've got ogres, zombies and skeletons, Kenku, Kappa, which are the demons. I always like these in Japanese culture, that they are demons who carry water in the top of their head. And if you can get them to spill the water, they're defeated. Carrying on, a bunch of other ones, Oni, which are the real demons. And we're on to the adventure. So we've got the Ceremony of the Samurai, which is quite a detailed adventure. So how it's presented, introducing the PCs to one another. There's a tea ceremony, introducing you to a town. The different elements within it. Day one's in the competition. Murder happens. Day two. Some stats towards the end there, charts to see who takes part in the different contests and who gets well, and then we've got some tables, so a probability chart here. And we've got some nice maps of Japanese buildings, which I really like. Any role-playing game which gives me maps, I'm definitely in favour for, especially when it's very different culturally to what I've got. So something futuristic or whatever. And Japanese culture, obviously. So we've got a large 7-story castle, a geisha house, a tea house, a fortified village, a fortified city, a temple, a small priest house, a large inn, the upper and ground floors. We've got a map of Rokugan as well, talking about the geography of the land. So different cities, different places, different environments where it's mountainous and all that. Introducing you in a lot of detail to the land by area, which I really like. We've got up to 115 different descriptions on the map here already. So 155 elements of the map are described there. We've got an afterword, we've got suggested reading, which, as I said, we've got Usagi Yojimbo in there, Stan Sakai, and an element letting us know that there have been some changes made since the first edition, since this is a later printing. The design team, along with quotes from them, index, and some standard tables. We've got weapons, basic equipment, a list of spells. And then we're right at the back, we've got an advert for Clan War, Fantasy Miniatures Wargaming in the Emerald Empire, Legend of the Five Rings and the awards it's won, the future of Rokugan, and join the Imperial Assembly, an organisation of Legend of the Five Rings players. And a character sheet for photocopying right at the back. And that's us reach the back cover. Now, I really like what they've done with this. I'm a bit of a fan of Japanese culture through absolutely adoring Usagi Yojimbo. And this feels a lot more serious than that, but it's still a fun role-playing game. There's so much in here, building up its own world, using the fantastic elements of a culture which is different to the one I grew up in, so it feels very interesting. So that was Legend of the Five Rings, and that won the poll this week with some 36% of the vote. Only narrowly ahead of Boot Hill, which came in second on 30%, because they were neck and neck through a bunch of the week. But Legend of the Five Rings drew ahead, and it was great to look through it. Now lingering behind was GURPS Swashbucklers on 19% and Against the Dark Master on only 15%. But they'll all be back in the polls at some point in the future because they were all suggestions from viewers and I would love to look through them all and learn about them. Although I'm kind of glad Against the Dark Master didn't win because it's absolutely massive. It's many, many hundred pages in length and be a lot to look through. So I'll need a lot of time to prepare for that one. But we'll get around to it. Now as usual, they're all wiped clear of the poll. And we're going back to a Retro Adventures poll. And this time it's all stuff that's been in the poll before. So first up we've got Last Rites for Call of Cthulhu. Now this is another book of 4 modern day adventures, and I do love the modern day setting for Call of Cthulhu, and there have been so many good ones we've put through in the past, so it'd be nice to look at these. Second up, we've got Imbalance of Power for the Star Trek role-playing game from Fazer, and it came out in 1986. Now, we've looked through some Star Trek adventures in the past, and they have been absolutely fabulous, so it'd be wonderful to look through that as well. Third up, we've got Hot Rods of the Gods for the Ghostbusters RPG from 1986 as well. Now, this is the final book which came out for the original Ghostbusters game. Ghostbusters got a second edition of types, Ghostbusters International, which came out pretty much syncing up with the Ghostbusters 2 movie. And there was a Ghostbusters 2 adventure and source books and many more adventures. But for the original Ghostbusters game, there are only 3 adventures, and we've covered 2 of them, so we've only got this one to go. So it'd be absolutely brilliant to have a look through it. And finally, we've got A View to a Kill for the James Bond 007 RPG from Victory Games in 1985. Now, we've looked through Dr. No before, and it was a fabulous adventure. I was really surprised by how this game I hadn't really heard of was so spectacularly good. So it'd be lovely to look through another adventure and see whether that was just an outlier, perhaps it was the one good adventure, or were they all that fantastic. I do love James Bond movies, so it'd be marvellous to look through. So we've got 4 fantastic options there. Let's see what wins. So this is a section of the video where I usually talk about all the other things I'm doing. Stuff on RPGgamer.org, stuff on DrivethruRPG, etc, etc. The links are down below if you want to check them out. But what I actually want to speak about today is some stuff that's been going on with the channel, because I've been having it out a bit with YouTube. You see, just before New Year, I received a notification that one of my videos, the video Satanic Panic on the 60-minute special from 1985, had been age restricted. Under the community guideline that you're not allowed to talk about methods of suicide, or you're not allowed to promote suicide, neither of which I did in my video. I want to be very clear about that. What I did in the video was speak about how they were blaming suicide on Dungeons & Dragons and the realities of those situations. So I appealed against it, which on YouTube is actually just a matter of clicking a button. They don't let you write any appeal, they don't let you explain that it's for educational purposes, it's reporting on other things, none of that. They just decide whether they think it's likely or not. And they came back that my appeal was unsuccessful. It didn't take them long, it took them about an hour to do that appeal. But they also decided that my video was going to be deleted entirely, because under the community rule that I was showing graphic depictions of people committing suicide. Now, the video in question was the 60-minute special from 1985, stuff was broadcast on that, obviously no images in that material, and me speaking. There was nothing else but in the video, so it was definitely against that. So I appealed, and very rapidly they came back with appeal successful. But they were keeping the age restriction in. And worse than that, the age restriction had a big click-through screen which said the video has depictions of suicide and talk about it which should not be watched. So not only were they checking that people were over 18, they were warning people not to watch the video, which was problematic to me. Now, they would not let me appeal against the age restriction because I'd already appealed against it. But fair enough, I was going to have to live with that. The video's just over a year old, so it wasn't going to pick up many views, although it does get regular amounts of views to it. Or did. Because on New Year's Eve I got another message saying they'd deleted the video entirely once again, under the same rules. So once again I appealed. and this time they rejected the appeal. That video has been deleted. Now, they have told me that they're not going to put a strike against me. They don't think I did it on purpose. But I don't think I broke their rules at all. That there is no way of appealing. You just click a button and then they make a judgment. I guess it's by AI, especially. But I think that people are complaining about these videos. And I would be very suspicious about some of the people in the more modern videos or their supporters clicking on some of my videos to get them taken down. Because you can report things as inappropriate. And every time you click to report, I get a message saying, people have reported that you're talking about suicide. And we're worried about you. Would you like to get in contact with the Samaritans, or giving me a list of other people in different countries if I wasn't in the UK? And I have had multiple of these. For the same video, I have had over half a dozen of these messages over the last few days of somebody reporting and reporting and reporting. So I do think there's an effort to take down some of these videos. Now, what can I do about it? Well, YouTube doesn't seem to give me any options. So what I'll be doing is taking those videos and I'll be putting them on Patreon. So if YouTube does delete them, at least Patrons will be able to still watch them. So I'm adding some incentive there. If you want to support the channel, if you want to see these videos, especially after YouTube has decided that Christians are right, or whoever's doing this, I'll not blame Christians entirely, I will blame the supporters of some of these channels. Then if you join the Patreon, you'll still be able to see these videos. They'll still be available to you. They might not be in the full 1040p high definition quality. I think I can only get them in a lower quality, but they'll still be available to be seen. And of course, I want to thank my existing patrons. Thank you very much, because these videos being deleted means that the little income they bring in, because I do tend to create videos with a very long tail, so while not many people watch them to start off with, over the years they pick up more and more views. So I get many thousands of views on my videos over the years. But if they're getting deleted, I don't get a chance to do that. So I don't get a chance to earn off those videos. So the Patreon support is absolutely essential. So those people are absolutely wonderful. Anyway, I wanted to speak about this situation. I want to explain what's going on. I have to admit that getting repeatedly in fights with YouTube has hit my enthusiasm a bit. So there has been a time when instead of putting up 3 videos this week, I was considering just putting up 2, just stopping what I was doing because my enthusiasm was totally gone. But I soldiered on through. I am a bit of a workaholic, so I did that. But anyway, I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. If you've got any discussion about that, please put it in the comments down below. I tend to update my comments about once a week, so I will get back to you. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and do the YouTube things to try and support my channel. But most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.